Hello, friends and dear viewers. I welcome you all for this current session, wherein we have to continue our earlier topic, that is the biotic factors and their interaction with plants. So, friends, I think in this connection, we have dealt in detail with various aspects like the mutualism, the herbivory, of course, parasitism, and the thing left over was allelopathy. Uh, in our conclusion part of our earlier session, we remember that we have stopped at allopathy. Of course, we would have been continued it in our earlier session only, whereas with an intention of giving a very clear insight, I have chosen this session to deal with allelopathy in detail. Okay, friends. Now, I think I need not go back to this mutualism, of course, the herbivory, and what else? This parasitism also. Now, let's jump on to this very interesting and very beautiful topic, my dear friends. It is allelopathy. It is allelopathy. So, friends, the biotic factors, of course, the plant interaction and allelopathy is our present topic. Okay, friends, we need to deal with allelopathy in detail. So let us start this particular topic from fundamentals itself, right? Friends, according to Papadakis, Papadakis is a scientist who worked on allelopathy. I think in the year 1978, right? According to him, there is a universal observation that when two plants grow in proximity to one another, both are injured, either one dies or both grow stunted. I repeat once again, my dear friends. According to the studies taken up by Papadakis while dealing with the concept allelopathy, there is a universal observation that when two plants grow in proximity to one another, both are injured. Either one dies or both grow stunted. So, these three are the possible things that could happen when two plants grow in proximity to one another, right? In this regard, he cited some experiments started in the early 1930s, showing that between very wide limits, plant density per unit area may be increased to many-fold without any appreciable difference on total yield. Although yield per plant is lower at high density. Hope you understand, my friends. While working on this allelopathy, he cited various examples, experiments that have started in early 30s, 1930s. A particular casework, when done on wide limits, an extensive area where the density per unit area may be increased many-fold without any appreciable difference on total yield, although yield per plant is lower at high density. Density means, my dear friends, be clear. Density means here the number of species occupying a particular locality or a particular area. when taken in terms of, arithmetic mean, in arithmetic sense, if you calculate any area that has been taken into consideration while dealing with this, cropping or raising plants, to study this density, to study this particular aspect of density. That density shows the number of plants that has been sown or raised in that particular or else in a given area. That indicates the density. So I think you got my point, right? In this course of experiments or observations, my dear friends, another scientist by name Wendt in 1973. He also observed that in established vegetation, the germination and growth of plants, of course, with some exceptions, is inhibited. Wendt observed that in established vegetation, the germination and growth of plants is inhibited. Means it has been stopped or else not been up to the standards. Okay. And of course, the plant growth is suppressed with increased plant density. Am I clear, my dear friends? Here, plant growth is suppressed with increased plant density. You can easily understand, my dear friends, we are dealing with the topic allelopathy. In this context, here things always move around the density only. The given area, it is up to what extent and what number or what, the diversity of the species existing there in that given particular area. And that is what we are going to deal about with allelopathy. In this context only, Wendt, is also another scientist. In his observations, he observed that in established vegetation, the germination and growth of plants is inhibited. Of course, plant growth is suppressed with increased plant density. What I want to make clear, my dear friends, is if more number of plants is being occupied in a particular area, and there happens things like a suppression in the plant growth, etc. All these things we can experience if more number of species is being occupied in a particular area, right? In that kind of situation, we can see that plant growth is suppressed where where the density is more. Where more number of species are seen in that particular area. So that is the reason where the suppression and all these things takes place. In order to explain this clearly, Wendt says that plant growth is suppressed with increased plant density, but the suppression equally applies to all plants. This is more interesting point. Suppression means it is not only limited to one or two plants or one or two species growing in that particular area. While discussing about allelopathy, here suppression is equally applied to all the plants existing or habiting in that particular locality. This is very interesting thing. Okay, and of course, in parts of tropical rainforest. So, friends, I made clear in my earlier sessions and episodes also what tropics are, what temperates, what polar, subpolar, etc., and XYZ. And in this particular instance, we came across with a word called tropical rainforest. Tropical rainforest, in sense, my dear friends, it may be located around 23 degrees or something around 25 degrees, maybe north and south we can call it. And here rainforest in sense, you don't find any kind of differentiation in clear differentiation in climate wise. Rainforest in sense, generally While dealing with the equators, my dear friends, and of course, when studying, studies related to climatology and oceanography, we can experience very beautiful things in those branches, because if you study the equator, if you study the geographical studies with taking place or operating in the equatorial region, and for example, if you take rainfall also, you don't find any particular season for rainfall or particular season for experiencing summers, etc. Whereas, of course, I'm talking about countries like India, where it is, of course, it is located in subtropical region, and here countries like India, the countries which are located in the similar latitudes, and we find a very beautiful differentiation or distinction between the seasons. You can find the seasonal variations very clearly, of course, in subtropical regions rather than in equatorial region. Basically, when if you observe the climatic conditions that are operating in equatorial region, my dear friends, you generally don't find any kind of seasonal variation, and there you can observe extreme scorching heat you can experience for few years, and after that from afternoon, I think 2 to 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you can experience torrential rainfall. You can experience torrential rainfall, and of course during night times you can experience extreme cold climates. So within a span of 24 hours, you can experience all these three types of climates. You can experience heat, you can experience the rainfall, you can experience the cool effect also, which are the virtues of the various seasons. Like summer, like rainy season, the winter, etc. So you don't find any kind of seasonal variation in equator, my dear friends. Whereas you can clearly or beautifully experience the seasonal variations in subtropical regions. I think I entered very much detail into this geography. Let's come back to our point, my dear friends. Tropical rainforest. Tropical rainforest, in sense, the tropics are the regions where where the globe is differentiated as tropical region. Here, the rainforests are there. Of course, I think, friends, I think Amazon forests also, they can better be called as rainforests. So you can find the luxuriant growth of flora in those kind of areas. Because you have very good amount of rainfall throughout the year. Throughout the year, you can find a good amount of rainfall. Precipitation wise, you need not worry. So of course, there is abundance of growth for greenery. So in that context, in parts of tropical rainforest where light is limiting and little photosynthesis is possible, only a few herbs grow, and most tree seedlings have few leaves. A very interesting thing. Now, my dear friends, we are talking about a tropical rainforest, whereas we have some limitations, because in allelopathic perspective, we are studying in terms of allelopathic perspective. So, in this context, we need to confine ourselves to this particular topic. So, in that context, the competition between the plants which are occupying in that particular location and all, what are the limitations, and the amount of sunlight receiving and all. And you can find in this particular, in this aspect of allelopathy, or in this perception, here in parts of tropical rainforest, where light is limiting and little photosynthesis is possible, only a few herbs grow, and most trees seedlings have few leaves. And that are the, those are the results due to allelopathy. Because of allelopathy, that means due to competition, or due to density, increased density of plants, and due to lack of, catching this, very less amount of sunlight reaching the green plants on the surface of the earth. So these are the things happening there. where light is very limiting and little photosynthesis is possible. Only few herbs can grow or survive, and most tree seedlings have few leaves. And Wendt noted that the growth and development of these seedlings were suppressed by shade and not by plant competition. Another more important and interesting observation made by Wendt, my dear friends. Here, basically, when he is studying about tropical rainforest, he experienced that and he found that the suppression. In terms, getting this, distribution of sunlight or something XYZ. In these studies, she noted that the growth and development of the seedlings were suppressed by shade. It's only by shade. That is the result of the taller plants. When plants are compared in terms of lengths, so the plants which are not not going to a greater heights, and those plants they are experiencing a stunted growth, or growth in not vertical growth, not up to the mark, and this is why. This is why it's happening. This is why this stunted growth in few species is happening, and that is the observation made by Wendt, wherein his observations he stated that this stunted growth or suppression is only due to the shade and not by plant competition. Okay, friends. Allelopathy, as in general, it explains the disadvantages or the things which are not conducive or not productive, things which are which are the results of allelopathy. But whereas this is a special case that is experienced or studied by Wendt, wherein he has taken an example of tropical rainforest, and of course in dealing with, in his studies he found that there are some limitations or suppressions by few species, and of course he went on observing what is the specific reason for this suppression and all, and he found that a single reason, and that is nothing but a shade is the only reason. Shade from the plants which are of higher higher lengths. A shade from these plants is one of the reason for the other plants which are with reasonable heights, and that shade is the limiting factor. This is the basic constraint for the other species which are not going to higher lengths, but not the competition between the plants, my dear friends. This is most important observation made by Wendt, right? Let's move on. Let's move further, my dear friends. And in his conclusion that plant competition exists, but not in the same way as in the animal kingdom. He concluded that plant competition exists, but not in the same way as in the animal kingdom, where active competition leads to the elimination of competitors. A very good statement, my dear friends. He says that suppression is particularly, while dealing with case study on tropical rainforest, in his observations, he made clear that the suppression is due to shade, but not due to plant competition. And of course, in his conclusion, he says that the plant competition exists there, undoubtedly, but not in same lines or not in same way as you find in the animal kingdom, where the active competition leads to elimination of competitors. And that kind of activity or that kind of things are not taking place when you take a flora as an example, right? Here are the few cases, I think, my dear friends. Let us deal with them, right? In the following cases, he explained that the term competition may apply to: number one, strife against another plant. Strife against another plant, which may lead to its ooster. Through the excretion or exudation of allelopathic substances. Very interesting thing, my dear friends. Competition is there, of course. It may be applied in following ways. In one of the ways of its application, here we can see strife against another plant which may lead to its ooster through the excretion or exudation of allelopathic substances. And the second application, I can say, scramble for a limited commodity like water, light, and nutrients, which causes mutual inhibition. Of course, friends, inhibitions means the limitations. Limitations. So, the second way, commodities like water, light, nutrients, they may cause mutual inhibitions to one another. Through a comprehensive review, including his own experiments, which confirmed the Pickering root toxin theory. Make a note, my dear friends. Through a comprehensive review, including his own experiments, which confirmed the Pickering root toxin theory of 1903 and 1917. Of course, the results of which were published in 1940s. 1940s. Papadakis, he has studied, his studies were done in 1978, and he concluded that plants exude toxic substances from their roots. The most important thing, my dear friends, Papadakis, in his studies, he concluded that plants exude toxic substances from their roots, and these substances are exuded by all plant species and are noxious to all plants, including the root that exuded them. I come again once again, my friends. Papadakis concluded that plants exude toxic substances from their roots, and these toxic substances are exuded by all plant species and are noxious to all plants, including the root that exuded them. Right. But their further exudation and extent of sensitivity. I come again once again, my friends. But their exudation and extent of sensitivity to them, it may vary from plant to plant. Of course, in his argument, or he argues that this plant interaction, now called as allelopathy, this is responsible for the injuries or inhibitory effects of one plant against another. So, friends, some toxic substances may be exuded from a root of one plant. Later, this kind of activity has been taken up by many plants, which has become sensitive for many plants. And in his argument and this kind of interaction, he better called or named this concept as allelopathy, and this is responsible for the injuries or inhibitory effects of one plant against another. Right. Friends, right. Plants that cause deleterious effects to another plant. when plants that cause deleterious effects to another plant that is intentionally grown or crop, which is intentionally grown in sense, my dear friends, just like practicing agriculture. While practicing agriculture, what we get, we sow some grains or saplings, etc. And of course, that pattern of raising the plants intentionally, or basically, my dear friends, of course, while dealing with the types of ecosystems and all, we have come across various types of ecosystems like a forest ecosystem, grassland ecosystem, etc. and XYZ. I think I remember I have never given any idea about man-made ecosystem, my dear friends. Of course, in my earlier episodes, I would have made it clear, ecosystems which are natural and artificial. That should be the broad classification or broadest sense of classification. But I think I missed it in my earlier episodes. So I think, my dear friends, let me clear that ecosystems, there are of course artificial also, which are operating in which are operating on this earth. You find artificial ecosystems which are operating on earth, and basically artificial in sense they are basically manipulated or man-made ecosystems. Man entered into the natural course. So in that context, we can call them as artificial ecosystems or man-made ecosystems, right? And in these man-made ecosystems are the ecosystems manipulated by man, and then we come across these things like the things like cropping. Cropping. Practicing agriculture. Practicing agriculture means crops, cropping, etc. and exposure. And in this context only we come across this particular word crop. I come back once again, my dear friends. Plants that cause deleterious effects to another plant that is intentionally grown. Intentionally grown means while practicing agriculture. While practicing agriculture, we raise many plants, and in that course, and while practicing agriculture, we can see deleterious effects to another plants while raising crops. These deleterious effects were caused by weeds. They are caused by weeds. So we can put in these terms, my dear friends, plants that cause deleterious effects to another plant that is intentionally grown or crop, they are called as weeds. So we generally grow some crops, or we raise some plants. And of course, the plants or crops which we raise, when they try to cause deleterious effects to another one, and if it is all these things are done intentionally, and then they are called as those crops which are causing deleterious effects to another ones. Then they can better be called as weeds. They can better be called as weeds, right? And tolerance to this biotic factor. Weeds. Tolerance to biotic factor like weeds. It varies from crop to crop. Plants with large canopies produce shade which suppress the growth of certain plants, and yet the same shade favors many sciophytes. And likewise the resistance of plants to the other biotic factors, herbivores and pathogens, are varied. It differs. So, friends, I think I have dealt very much in detail with this particular topic, allelopathy, and I think it's time for me to wind up this session. Hope you understand these last words, that plants that cause deleterious effects to another plant that is intentionally grown, these are called as weeds. So weeds means, in general sense, we don't take them very much serious. And of course, while taking up studies, then we can understand the intensity. We can understand the intensity of these particular words. So I think, my dear friends, hope you all enjoyed this session very much. and to my possible extent, I tried my level best to put it in a very simple sense. Okay, friends, I think I should stop my session here, and and we will start our next session with a wonderful topic that is adaptations of plants. That is adaptations of plants. Hope, my dear friends, you all enjoyed this session very well. Let's meet in our following session, my dear friends. Thank you, one and all.